I'm currently suffering from a very common injury and niggle that most triathletes will experience at some stage in their life, and that's what we call shoulder impingement. It's got a few other names like swimmer's shoulder, but it's the most common shoulder injury you're going to get. And actually, I want to use this occasion, this moment with my niggle and injury, which isn't because of the most obvious thing. It's not because of triathlon, it's because of something else I'll tell you about in a moment, but uses a little bit of a case study to show you what's going on with my shoulders and how I'm going to fix this. So firstly, the reason this has happened is because of my daughter. My baby daughter is coming into our bed every night and she literally rams herself right up towards my back, so I'm squashed in bed, and it means that my shoulder's rolled in a lot. I have to pull my shoulder blade underneath me to keep comfy, and I stay in this rounded position for, I don't know, 6 or 7 hours. So all my muscles shorten into that position, and since then, over the last 2 weeks, it's progressively got a little bit worse. What am I going to do to fix it? Well, that's what I'll explain through now. Now, the wall slide test is very, very easy, but to understand what's going on can be quite challenging. That's why people like us exist. But actually, from seeing this, you'll really be able to create a picture of how you can help your shoulder when things start to crop up and there are negatives. So, as you can see, I'm there. You can see I've got the top off, so we can see the scapula, your shoulder blades, and also the shoulders moving. And what we're interested in is my injured left side. What happens on that compared to the pain-free right side? And as we go through them, we can see there's a couple of key things that stands out, or should I really say one key major thing, and it's to do with the positioning of my shoulder blades from the start. So our shoulder blades, if we can pop on over here, it's almost just like, this is a very basic picture, but we've got spine, and then we've got one shoulder blade and the other shoulder blade. One thing that we want to happen is we want those to upwardly rotate to create space in the shoulders up here, and we want them to stay nice and compressed in towards the rib cage as well. Now, on the 2 videos, the first video you can see of me was when I just moved normally. I didn't overthink about the right things to do. Then in the second video, I then start to think about how I should be correcting the fault. And you can see one key difference. On the first video, this shoulder blade is starting slightly further around my body. So instead of starting more towards the midline, it's starting further round and away compared to the right one. It's also more depressed. Now, why this is happening is probably because my lat muscle, which attaches somewhere down here and pulls that shoulder blade down, is too tight. And I know it's too tight because you can see on one of the overhead reach tests we do. And secondly, that more rounded position at the start where it's come further away from the spine is probably a result of, through the front of my shoulder, particularly my pec minor muscle, that's got excessively tight as well. And those two things have caused that depressed position and that slightly more rounded away from the spine position as well. And consequently, that is the key thing that has caused my pain and discomfort. Now, if we look at the rest of the movement, actually my shoulder blades pretty much upwardly rotate 60 degrees as we want. The timing of them's pretty much bang on where we want, and I can get full range of motion. There's not too much else going wrong. It's just that one thing. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be stretching my lats off more. I'm going to be stretching my pec off more. I'm going to be doing thoracic extension work, which will help open up that gap a little bit more. But also critically, I've got to try and stop sleeping in that position, because if I don't do that, it's going to be very hard to get over it. All my other strength training is absolutely fine, and it's just a really cool example outside of triathlon of why we can get these type of things, even though it's a very common injury. And in a similar way, that it's a bit more specific to triathlon, if you've adopted a swimming technique that has started to cause this type of thing, again, that's something that needs to be corrected, just like my sleeping position needs to be corrected, before we can start to resolve these type of things. And again, creating mobility in the right places and strength in the right places is a critical thing to do that, and is consequently why we have thoracic mobility work, we have lat mobility work, and we also have appropriate strength training work around the right muscles in our TriTenacious training platform app, where all of the strength training fits in to make sure that your body's staying bulletproof against things like this. But secondly, the performance of your shoulder is tip-top. Again, so for example, when you're swimming, we can create as much propulsion and power as possible.